Jack of all trades, master of none. We're told from a young age to become well-rounded. Be good at academics, join clubs, play a sport, volunteer, take leadership roles, keep your options open. The message is subtle, yet constant. The more you do, the more valuable you are. And for a long time, I believed that. I'm the youngest of 3 siblings, which means I grew up watching excellence in real time. One of my siblings was known for academic achievement. The other stood out in athletics. There were awards, trophies, certificates, proof of identity displayed proudly. And then there was me. No one explicitly said I had to match them, but when you grow up in the shadows of high expectations, you tend to internalize them. So I did what I thought I was supposed to do. I tried to do everything: advanced courses, clubs, committees, volunteering, extracurriculars that looked impressive on paper. If an opportunity presented itself, I took it. I thought that if I collected enough achievements, eventually I would feel defined. But something strange happened. The more I added, the less clear I became. I was constantly busy, but rarely fulfilled, constantly productive, but not grounded. Instead of building depth, I was building a checklist. And that's when I started to realize something important. There's a concept called the shiny object syndrome. It describes our human tendency to chase whatever looks exciting, impressive, or promising in the moment without staying long enough to build anything meaningful. The next opportunity, the next award, the next leadership title, the next thing that looks good. Each one shines, each one feels urgent, each one promises validation. But when we keep shifting our focus toward whatever sparkles in front of us, we never stay long enough to develop mastery, clarity, or identity. High school culture unintentionally feeds this pattern. We're praised for being involved. We're encouraged to diversify. We're told that being well-rounded makes us competitive. But there comes a point when keeping every door open means never fully walking through one. But no one talks about the cost of that. When you try to do everything, you spread your time, energy, and attention thin. You don't go deep enough into anything to discover whether you truly care about it. You don't remain long enough to see real growth. And without that depth, it becomes difficult to form a stable sense of who you are. At one point, someone asked me a simple question. If you had to quit everything except one thing, what would you keep? And I didn't have an answer. That scared me because I had filled my schedule, but I hadn't filled my sense of self. That question forced me to slow down. I began asking myself not what looks impressive, but what actually matters to me. And the answer wasn't dramatic. It wasn't glamorous. It was simply the thing I kept returning to, even when no one was watching. So I made a decision that felt uncomfortable at first. Instead of adding more, I started subtracting. I stepped away from commitments I joined out of obligation. I reduced activities that I participated in half-heartedly. I stopped chasing what sparkled. What surprised me wasn't just that I felt less overwhelmed, it was that I felt more confident. When you focus in one area, you build skill, you face challenges, you experience failure, but you stay with it long enough to improve. And in that process, you don't just develop competence, you develop identity. You begin to understand your strengths, your values, your limits, your interests. You stop performing for approval, and you start growing for yourself. Being well-rounded can make you adaptable, but being focused makes you intentional. A tree doesn't grow tall because its roots skim the surface in every direction. It grows tall because its roots go deep enough to hold it steady. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking. What if I picked the wrong thing? What if I change my mind? What if I'm closing doors? But choosing depth isn't about locking yourself in forever. It's about giving yourself permission to explore fully instead of sampling endlessly. You're allowed to evolve, but you deserve the chance to experience what commitment feels like. Because real confidence doesn't come from trying everything. It comes from knowing what matters to you. The students who create impact in any field aren't the ones who did everything. They're the ones who found something meaningful and stayed with it long enough to make a difference. Impact requires immersion, not multitasking. So if you're feeling overwhelmed, if your calendar is full but your sense of direction isn't, maybe the answer isn't to add more. Maybe it's to pause, to reflect, to pick your lane and go deep enough that it shapes you. Because circles may be well-rounded, but they roll away easily. Maybe we were never meant to be circles. Maybe we were meant to have edges. Something sharp enough to make a mark. And that's what happens when you choose depth over distraction. You sharpen those edges. You become grounded. You become intentional. And most importantly, you become yourself. Thank you.